It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. And now, for your host, Kimberly McLemore.
All right, good evening and welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring entrepreneurs and women-owned businesses from across the country. I am your host, Kimberly McLemore, CEO and founder of the Women's Small Business Initiative, LLC, and award-winning author. Welcome to another night of sharing. With us, we have special guest Jen Bugajsky, owner of the Freedom Keys. Jen is a love, pleasure, and intimacy coach. She is passionate about owning her feminine power and inspiring women to create a pleasure-filled life they love. She walks her talk. Jen is a multi-passionate performer, singer, songwriter, author, ballroom dancer, and mom of 4 young men. She helps busy women reconnect with their femininity and sensuality so that they can experience more energy, fulfillment, and pleasure in their business and personal lives so they can be a better mom, wife, partner, and friend, and live a lit-up life. She teaches you to feel safe to love and connect with your body, surrender to the desires and hungers of your soul, and step into the beautiful, sensual, feminine, sexy, and powerful women you were created to be. So, without further ado, please help me welcome to my platform, Miss Jen Bugajsky. How are you, Jen?
I am wonderful today. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's my pleasure, and I'm excited because the month of February is all about love.
Yes, it is.
So even obviously we want to be loved all throughout the year, but it seems to be that people truly do focus on holidays that kind of turn them inside out. And so I love what you do. And, you know, as we talked a little bit earlier, we talked some last year, but we really didn't get the chance to really focus on what love and pleasure and intimacy is truly about, because we could have had the conversation probably for a couple hours when we were talking last year. So.
I think you're right.
Yeah. So, but before we dive into some of this conversation, Jen, why don't you just give another little quick introduction of who you are and, you know, tell everybody a little bit more about who Jen really is.
Okay. Thank you. So let's see where to begin. So I am a single mom of 4 men. They range from 23 to 13. And gosh, when I just think about this journey of the last decade, my mission really is to teach women truly how to love themselves. And you kind of hear this terminology of self-care and, you know, love yourself. But no one has ever taught us what that really means. And it's so much deeper than I think we realize. So, I mean, I like to say that I started this journey, like I said, almost a decade ago. And I have learned so much about self-love, self-respect, dignity, honor, etc., just about me, and then being able to share that with others has just been truly a gift.
Mm-hmm. That is true. And what you're saying is so important. I love how you talk about the fact of self-care. Self-wellness. Everybody talks about this consistently. You see posts about it week after week about, you need to do your self-care. But like I said, what does that really mean for people? How do they really truly react? What do they actually do to maintain that? And do they really understand what is deep inside of them to reconnect and be a woman? I find that sometimes people, or let's just say in general, women have this attitude about it's not okay to be feminine. It's not okay to show that side of them. So talk about what you do and how do you see women today, and what makes you think that they, don't reconnect to themselves?
Yeah. So two things. One, when I think about the whole concept of self-care, like the word is overused, but it's also because people don't know how to talk about it. And I laugh. In one of my books, I have a 6-book series, and in my third book, The Goddess, I specifically talk and dive into more details around what self-care is. It's not just about meditating in the morning and taking bubble baths at night, right? Like you might have a list of self-care things, but it's so much deeper than that. But in your question in regards to, why do we not allow ourselves to go there? Like, I think that we, as much as we hear, love yourself, feel confident, have self-worth, etc., we have not at our core been taught to love our bodies as women. So if I think about it, we are spiritual beings living in a physical body. And if we truly want to love ourselves completely, we need to be able to connect with this physical body that we are in. And I can tell you, I don't know how many women I have met that have not said, I don't love something about my body, right?
Right, right.
It's my boobs are too big, they're too small. My butt's too big. I've got a muffin top, right? Like the wrinkles under my eyes, like you name it. It's like we're always looking at something negative about ourselves and our bodies. And I believe that that's where it all starts.
And I agree with you. And because we criticize ourselves, and a big part of that being critical towards ourselves is because society makes it so easier for us to criticize ourselves, right? We're constantly being told you have to look a certain way. You can't do this, you can't do that. And then the worst part, I think, is that even today with the technology, people are seeing a vision of what they think they want to be because they're not satisfied with who they are.
Right. Yeah. So, in society, culture, et cetera, there's all of these visuals of, what beauty is. Like one of the things at a woman's core, we have the desire to be desired. And we also have the desire to feel beautiful. Like it's just it's something that is part of the core of who we are as women. And I think that society has skewed what beauty really means. So we can all say we want to feel and look beautiful, but that vision of beauty is tainted based upon what we've been taught beauty actually really is.
Exactly. And you're absolutely right. I mean, because even growing up, I can remember from the time, you look at TV or people around you, all we ever were told is that, you had to have blue eyes and blonde hair. So how does that, obviously when you're from a different culture and a different background and you don't see people who look like you or help you feel that it's okay that you don't have the blonde hair or the blue eyes, that you're still beautiful, you're still special, you're who you are. And it's truly the attitude of the saying of the beauty's in the eye of the beholder, because when you look at yourself in that mirror every day, you have to see that beauty. And when you understand what that means for yourself, I do honestly believe we stand out differently. We feel differently about ourselves. It's kind of reminds me of like having a new hairstyle done, right? You go get your hair done and, you may decide, hey, I'm going to get a new haircut, where you feel so great, after you get it because you've changed, you did a change, but you at that point you felt beautiful. So then what stops us from having that same feeling after we get that haircut, so to speak?
Yeah, no, this is actually a really good discussion because I actually just got my haircut yesterday. So I'm
And I
feeling
know
great.
you're looking good, girl, because the last time I seen your hair was getting long.
Yeah, I have like this little money piece in front too that's kind of like a little pink rosebud, which is kind of cool.
Oh, wow.
But I know. What's interesting though is it's all about energy. You hit it right on the head. And this is one of the things that I talk about in my own podcast. What I teach women is how to tap into our radiant, beautiful, feminine energy. And you are the only one who can tap into it. Mm-hmm. No one else can do that for you. So the idea of living in the feminine is truly about tapping into that, call it happy, radiant aliveness. That's what it is. It's this aliveness and this turn on within you. Because you choose a haircut, right? It's a very simple example. Who doesn't love going and getting their haircut and feeling sexy, right? Like, but why do we have to wait until we get the haircut to feel that way? Mm-hmm. We can do that every day of the week. Like one of the things that I think is, another thing too is what kind of bra and panties do you wear underneath your clothes, right? Like, I mean, if you wear something that's kind of slinky and sexy underneath your sweater and pants, like, doesn't that make you feel sexy? Like it's all about what makes you feel sexy, what turns you on, as opposed to what someone else thinks should turn you on. Mm-hmm. And when you can be in that, I'll call it state of turn on, right? Turn on doesn't necessarily have to mean I'm turned on and I'm orgasmic. It can be, but it doesn't have to be.
Right.
It's this aliveness, this radiant energy that comes from within you and then shines outside of you. And you can see that. You can feel it in yourself when it happens, but you can see it and feel it in other women who have that. Like, the people that you want to be around and the people that you don't, right? You feel their energy, whether it's on the phone or if it's in person. And someone whose energy is alive and vibrant and turned on, like, you want to be around them because they just exude this, I'll call it this vortex of energy that is magnetic.
Exactly. I agree with you because, it's common sense. We all know that, if you're down, you usually hang around people who have the same, the same attitude and the same feeling as you do. I'm trying to think of what the saying is, hanging around the miserable people because you feel miserable, so it does exuberate that same feeling if you're feeling good about being around people who exuberate that happiness, that sensuality, that it's okay. And I love that you just described the fact that, feeling sensual and feminine and sexy is not just about having the organic side of you, the orgasmic side of you, which is fine, but you can't run around and do that 24 hours a day, right? So it's like, so you have to think about
24 hours a day.
Right. So, you have to determine and understand it's okay to connect with yourself. And we all struggle with this, I think a big part of it too, as we continue to get older, even though, women are looking good and they're living longer and, we just still look fairly young for our ages. We still look in the mirror and realize that we are changing. So every time that you're changing, you have to make some adjustments, but it shouldn't stop you from being in love with you.
Yes, absolutely. And the other thing that I have noticed is that when you are in your aliveness and your turn on, we're also inside of our bodies. We're not in our heads. And I think as women, we are so busy. Like, I'm sure many of the people that are listening, they might be single moms, they might have multiple children, husband, whatever it is, but we're busy. We're overwhelmed. We're exhausted. We're trying to rush to do the next thing that we're always inside our heads.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't allow ourselves the time to be present and inside of our bodies. And when that happens, we can't turn on that aliveness and that turn on because it doesn't come from the head.
It can get lonely climbing Mount McKinley, so to entertain myself, I go to ChumbaCasino.com. At Chumba Casino, I can play hundreds of online casino-style games for free, like online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Plus, I get a daily login bonus. It's just too bad that up here, I don't have anyone to share my excitement with. Woohoo!
Live the Chumba life. Anytime, anywhere. Play for free now at ChumbaCasino.com. VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, "Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody." Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
It comes from the body. It comes from inside of us.
Right.
And I think what happens, too, is we then look to others to fuel that in us. So I think many times what ends up happening is women will look to that from men, right? Like, whether you are in a married partnership, you're dating, whatever, we'll just use the term partner, right? It's like, you know what, he doesn't turn me on anymore, or he doesn't know how to turn me on. Well, it's not his job to turn you on. It's your job to learn how to turn yourself on so that you can then come together and have what I would call sacred sexuality and sacred intimacy. So I think that some of us have this whole aliveness and turn on thing wrong, right? We think that our partner is supposed to do something for us, and then we have all of these challenges in our marriage, right? In our relationships, because we're looking for something from someone else, and then they get frustrated, right? And then all of the other challenges, show up.
Right. Because then what happens is they go out and they find a new sample, right? but the key is, if you don't love yourself enough, you will continue to have that same journey over and over and over. You're going to find you a new sample because, like you said, you're looking for that person to make you feel good, not realizing that if you can't love yourself enough or know how you feel, you're definitely not going to be able to help anybody else. And you can't give them all your energy because it's not fully there.
Oh, totally. I mean, the other interesting thing too is, and most women don't think consciously that this is what they're doing, right? This is why we repeat patterns over and over again, right? The man won't commit to me. So, I'm better than you, screw you. I'm just going to go off and move on to the next one, kind of a thing. Right. And it's like, well, wait a minute. What is it that you are or are not doing for yourself? Right. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't some men out there that are not a right match, right? I mean, there's absolutely that. But it always comes back to personal responsibility and seeing where you are at cause. Like, one of the things that I've learned from my mentors and coaches over the years is we are 100% at cause for what happens in our life, whether it is through a conscious choice or a subconscious belief that drives what is happening in our lives. So if we don't like the way that something is shaping up or turning out, that's when it's time for us to look inward. How can we see the truth of ourselves? How can we love ourselves even more, right? To attract and magnetize more of what we want in our life.
I agree with that. And that is the hardest thing in the world, is to look in the mirror and see you. You know, to see all through you. That is the hardest thing in the world, because we do start to realize that when you take that minute and just truly look at yourself and be like, oh my gosh, I'm, this and this, that. And then what happens is we turn some of those things that we know we need to change. We criticize, and then that's when we start going downhill, from there, because because you have to tell the truth about yourself. But instead of criticizing yourself, it's like, okay, so how do you step up? How do you make those changes that that are going to make a better you? Because like you said, at the end of the day, whether you're in a partnership, whether you're on your job, if you can't make yourself happy and you can't step up to the plate, everything you do is going to show. It's going to show in a whole different perspective. And then you're starting to point fingers. You're blaming the world for whatever is going on around you. But taking that opportunity to look in the mirror, that is the hardest thing for anybody.
Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting because there are so many different initiatives and programs out there that talk about, loving yourself and telling yourself how beautiful you are. And you would think that it should just be easy, right? Like, okay, just love yourself. Just look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, I love you. But the truth of the matter is the fact that we have subconscious beliefs that are social, cultural, religious, familial, ancestral, etc., you name it, that are in our body's programming that stop us from doing that. Wow. So we can tell a woman, just believe you're beautiful. But if you have a subconscious belief that does not allow you to feel comfortable and safe doing that, it doesn't feel good, right? Exactly. So, I laugh because my chiropractor, he makes me laugh. He used to say, yeah, Jen, just say ILMN. And I'm like, what is that? Like, I love myself. And it was, I love myself naked, right? Okay. And I was like, okay, you're funny, But it's the truth. Like, naked is two different components. There's the physical naked, right? Look at yourself in the mirror naked and love all of the physical parts of you.
Right.
And then there's the love myself naked of, I love all of the emotional, mental, energetic parts of me as well too. Like, I love using nature as ways to communicate. I love looking at the bare naked trees, right? Like, someone could go out there and go, oh, those are ugly, right? They're, like, they have no leaves on them. They're not flowing with flowers and radiance, right? From that perspective. But at the truth and the core, right? And I'm kind of looking out my window, looking at all the naked trees out there.
Right.
But they are beautiful. It is the core of who we are. And it's important for us to love all parts of ourselves. I think what ends up happening sometimes too is when we have had, I don't want to call it bad things happen, but bad things happen, in our past, right? We want to bury it. We want to get rid of it. And when we do that, it's like we're shutting off and burying a piece of who we are. Right. And that's not the goal. The goal is to love all of the parts of ourselves. So if we have made a mistake as, a little girl, a teenager, an adult, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? It's not that you should be shamed and condemned for that mistake that you made. It is feeling the feelings and honoring that part of who we are. But so many of us don't want to go there.
Yeah.
Right. We say, it's not important. That's not a part of my life anymore. I don't want to talk about it. I want to bury it. But the truth of the matter is, if we keep burying that stuff and we don't love it and bring it to the surface, then we're not fully loving all of who we are.
That's right. Yeah, I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that, because you're right. It's easier to just keep burying it. But then when you get to that point, you're going to burst. And when you start to burst, you know, everything starts to come out. And then at that point, everything is so out of order. Everything is craziness because you haven't dealt with the things you need to deal with. And so, you know, now that craziness it doesn't just affect you, it affects everything and everybody that you're around. Sure. But like you said, everything truly does start at the core. So, you know, you're absolutely right about this. And I just love the fact that you have developed a program where women can truly, truly lift themselves in a way that they've never really thought about lifting. Because like you said, everybody's kind of just on the surface. Oh, look in the mirror, love yourself, you know, put on a new wig, love yourself, you know, go out here and buy a new car or, you know, some new clothes, or get your nails done, then you love yourself. It's much, much bigger picture than that, because all that most people talk about and focus on is just the surface. And once that surface is gone, because you're not going to sit around all day long and just constantly worry about how you're looking in the mirror because you have on a new piece of jewelry or whatever the case may be. So, so, you know, truly understanding what it means to be feminine, you know, what it means to truly understand your sensuality. It's bigger than sex. It's about understanding your foundation. And we all know that, you know, growing up, we've all come with some foundation, and that foundation was given to us because that's what people have learned, and they to do their best as families and parents. We all, you know, try to take what we've learned and we give it to our children, but they still have an opportunity as human beings. We have to figure out who we are once we have the capability as we're growing to realize this is who I am. And it's okay that you've given me this advice, but it does not mean you have to keep that advice.
ET is Ryan Seacrest here. People always say it's good to unwind, but that's easier said than done. The exception, Chumba Casino. They actually make it easier done than said, or at least the same. Chumba Casino is an online social casino with hundreds of casino-style games like slots and blackjack. Play for fun. Play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Sign up now and collect your free welcome bonus at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, "Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody." Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back. And we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this: everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Right.
So, right.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is interesting too is that it's a journey that never ends. Right.
Exactly.
So it's one of those things where we need consistent support. It's a practice, right? So I think about yoga, or you go working out, right? You don't just work out once a week, right? Like if you want to tone your body, you put a practice together. This is the same thing with self-love and with beauty. It is a continual, I'm going to call it a spiritual practice, right? Because it truly is learning how to love all different parts of you. And I believe that because of all of the traumas that we have experienced, social, cultural, religious, you name it, that we need support from other women who have been there, because it's so easy to fall off the bandwagon on a day, right? You have a crummy day and you fall off. That it's important to have tools that you can use to help you to get back into that feminine power and energy and aliveness. And yet at the same time, sometimes we need that additional support to keep us going. We don't have to do it alone.
Right. Keyword. So this is a great segue into talking about, tell us about your books. And then again, tell us about your podcast.
Yes. So I have a podcast called The Sensual Feminine Life. You can find it on iTunes and Spotify. And I also have a book series that is based on the podcast as well, too. So there are 6 different books. 3 of them are out, and the other 3 are coming out this year. And they are all about what allows you to step into being the woman that you were created to be. The first book is called The Good Girl. It's about the social conditioning that we have been taught about sexuality in women's bodies. The second book is about desire and what we've been taught about desire and pleasure. What pleasure is not, right? And how we can tap into more of that. And the third one is The Goddess, which is about acceptance and personal responsibility. And it's really starting to talk more about the body itself, right? So those are 3 that are out. The next 3 coming out later this year. Actually, the next one will probably be out before this podcast episode. It's supposed to be on Valentine's Day.
Yay.
Now that I'm thinking about it. It's called the Bombshell, but it is about playing with your feminine energy, which is exactly everything we've just talked about here. Like, what does it mean to be feminine? How do you tap into and step into that feminine energy? How do you play with pleasure? Like, what does that really mean, right?
Wow. Yes.
So the things that people never taught us, right? So, and then there's 2 other ones that are coming out later this year.
Well, yeah, that's awesome, because I know that your books are amazing. We've talked about them before, and I love how you've taken each one of them and you specifically, giving women the time they need to research and to review and think about these are the steps you should take. This is, so you can't jump in with all 4s. It's little baby steps, but it's consistency. It's not something you do today and stop tomorrow. It's something it's a life change, because that life change is going to make you a better person. And that's the thing that I love about your program. So, Jen, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you and where they can purchase the books as well.
Okay. Let's see. The easiest way to find me is through my website or on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. My business name is The Freedom Keys. I'm probably most active on Facebook. You can check out my page there. I also have a free private Facebook group that is called The Sensual Feminine Life. So it's the same name as the podcast and the book series. And it's a place where we just dive deeper into some of the concepts that I talk about in the books. So if you're curious to learn a little bit more about me, those are the ways to do that. Again, the podcast is easy to find. I've had a lot of people say that they really love being able to listen because you can also hear my voice.
Right.
It's kind of like when you talk about this topic, it's important for you to feel safe. That's like the biggest thing that I would tell anybody about doing any of this healing work, tapping into that feminine energy. You have to feel safe being able to explore this piece of you. And that's one of the things that I do, whether it's in my podcast, in my books. Like the books I have made to be beautiful, to create that safe environment to talk about these topics. The same in my group as well, too. And then, people can always, find my, phone number and all that jazz on my website as well, too, which is thefreedomkeys.com. But those are probably the easiest ways to find me.
All right. Well, yeah, and we'll definitely provide all the information in the show notes so that people can reach out to you. So, so they don't have to remember it all by listening. But the key thing, though, we would love for you all to continue to listen to the podcast shows over and over and over. So that part we love, that's important. So you'll definitely, learn more because, trying to listen to something very quickly in, 25, 30 minutes it sinks in, but it doesn't really sink in. So we really hope that everybody truly goes back and listens to what we're talking about because it is important. And even though we're focusing on women, this is something even for men. Men need to understand their core too, because men have been taught to not show their feelings. So, this is something that can be beneficial for everybody. But, again, I just truly love having the conversations with you, Jen, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to come and hang out with me tonight, and especially during this beautiful month of February of love.
Yes, it's all about love. Now let's go out and love ourselves and share that deep, epic love with the world.
Absolutely. Well, all right. Again, I thank you for coming on tonight's show and hanging out with me. It's been a pleasure. And again, we'll definitely have to talk soon and get together again and have another conversation.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you again for having me.
You're welcome. All right. And before we close tonight's show, though, I hope you all have been inspired by this conversation and your confidence has been boosted. Ladies, stop wasting time and learn to love yourself to the fullest. If you want to learn how to own your feminine power, you can reach out to me at Kimberly, at KimberlyWSBILC@gmail.com. And let's have that chat about how to take those steps. We can definitely get you connected with Jen as well so that she can give you more information. And like I said, all this information we talked about tonight will be in the show notes. But let's also talk about turning those dreams into a reality and then that reality into goals. And of course, if you want more of your resource for success, monetary donations to support the podcast are now accepted on Cash App, PayPal, Good Pods Tip Jar, or go directly to the website at www.wsbilc.com. Again, we would like to thank you all for listening to us tonight. We will be back next week with more amazing guests. Be sure to follow us on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts. But until then, enjoy the rest of your night. Good night.
Good night, everyone. We will be back next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Follow us on Spreaker, www.spreaker.com/user/WSBI. View our new WSBI website anytime at www.wsbillc.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
People are driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. The hiring process can be slow and overwhelming. Simplify hiring with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform. With over 350 million global monthly visitors according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. That's Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Terms and conditions apply.